Welcome in, everyone, to another live Hawks Eye podcast. I'm here back again. I know I was here earlier today, everybody, with Greg Bell, but now I'm joined by the man, the myth, the legend, Mookie Alexander from Field Gulls, joining me for our, monthly Mookie, bi-weekly State of the Hawks show. Tonight, we're going to touch on what Seattle's done in free agency. We're going to touch on John Schneider's best and worst free agent signings of all time. And then on top of that, we will go into a full mock draft with trades. Me and Mookie will play Seahawks GM for the night. And we'll also take input from you guys, and then we'll get into a viewer's Q&A. But Mookie, how you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. You know what? Both of us pulled double duty because I recorded a podcast separately earlier today, but that one at least was not immediately live. We're Iron Man on Friday. There's no rest for the weary, but thankfully, the Seahawks were not super busy today. In fact, they didn't do anything today other than make certain things official. So this was kind of the reprieve for us. We didn't have this wave of information coming at us like for Syndicate yesterday.
Yeah, no, exactly, which will be nice. We can dive into it a little bit deeper, really cut loose on what's going on there with the Hawks and what their plans may be for the further point of free agency. But we'll get into that entire discussion right after this.
That's all we do, baby. It's our time.
Seattle defense continues to have a night. Their sixth sack.
First and 10 at the Seattle 44. Here comes the blitz. May. Kennedy tries to throw. Ball comes out. Going the other way. Turning up the field. Shannon all through. And he scores. Touchdown. Play faking in. Sanders going to roll left. Looking. Sam throw. Back in the end zone. Is it caught and found? It is. Touchdown. Seahawks.
We did not care. It's about us. It's always been about us and what we do. And now we're going to the Super Bowl.
Well, Mookie, let's get into some of these topics. And first off, let's kind of talk about this free agency group. You know, they've made some acquisitions, Emmanuel Wilson, Rodney Thomas. You know, they brought back a lot of key individuals in Brandon Peely, Drake Thomas, Rashid Shaheed, Josh Jobe, and they've lost some guys throughout this period. But for you, what grade would you give Seattle on free agency so far?
The process, I'd say, is a B. It would be an A if they had been a little more aggressive at running back than I had preferred. Like Emmanuel Wilson's all right, but what that tells me is they're going to do stuff in the draft. It's funny because last year they were way more aggressive in free agency, and I was lukewarm on the free agency stuff. And then the draft happened. I went, all right, I can see the plan coming together. So I'm most encouraged by who they kept. You know, there's certain guys like Kobe I expected to leave. There was a little bit of me thinking maybe Seattle would keep him if he got like hometown discount or something, but the Bears ended up paying quite a bit. And Brisker left for damn near nothing. I mean, that's a pretty significant trade-off there. And Byard left for what, $9 million? So they lose two safeties and you end up getting Kobe in return. But anyway, like Kobe most likely going to leave. Reek, obviously, and this is basically not even benefit of hindsight. Obviously, he was gone the minute that the clock hit zero once Seattle won the Super Bowl. Walker, again, highly likely to be taken by another team. And then Boye Mafe, there wasn't any clamoring to keep him. And I highly doubt Seattle offered Boye Mafe $20 million a year anywhere in that neighborhood. So keeping Shaheed means that you don't have a need at wide receiver right now. And then you re-sign all of your kind of, minor contributors on special, but minor contributors for the scope of the team, but major contributors on special teams. And you even bring back not Brandon Peely. Well, you brought back Brandon Peely, but bringing back DeAnthony Bell, who I think could be still a possible solution as far as safety depth, because that's what he kind of was when he was oscillating between the practice squad and the active roster. So Seattle kept most of their guys. Like, there are only two free agents left from this year's period who haven't been signed in. That's Chaz Surratt. And sorry, but He might be a good special teamer, but is anybody really going to be losing their mind at Chad Surratt walks? And then Cody White. And Cody White's, he's been anywhere from the practice squad to not on the Seahawks to on the active roster. And the fact that they tendered Jake Bobo means if there is to be a 6 wide receiver, it's kind of like a battle between Ricky White, Cody White, if they keep him, and then kind of like fielder's choice, depending on what they do in the draft, undrafted free agents, or if they sign a unrestricted free agent. But in the short term, they still kept most of their guys. Not going to lessen the impact of the guys who left. And in the long term, they are highly likely to have 4 comp picks for next year's draft, which is the maximum allowed. Plus, they still have the 7th from the Michael Jarrell trade. So they're looking at 12 draft picks for next year. And while I don't really care about the 2027 draft at the moment, I do care, as I said on Syndicate last night, about the potential to use one of those picks that hasn't been awarded yet, or rather that is already locked in, to make a trade or two if they so choose this year.
Yeah, and I think that's the interesting point, right? Obviously, I had to leave Syndicate a little early last night, so I wasn't able to enjoy the full length of that conversation. But no, I think that's what's going to be interesting. I personally, Mookie, I'd give them a B+, probably in the same realm as you. You've retained key free agents. You let guys that you expected to walk and get really overpaid, I think, in a lot of areas. I had Greg Bell on earlier today, and he even said that one of his colleagues and friends who covers the Cincinnati Bengals and is a Bengals beat reporter basically even admitted the Bengals even think they overpaid for Boye Mafe at basically the $20 million per year. So, looking at it, I think the one that Seattle's probably the most upset about that got away out of that group is probably Kobe Bryant, and Greg alluded to that as well, that, they thought they might be able to work something out there, and Mike McDonald loved Kobe Bryant, but I think what they've done to reinforce that position makes it a non-starter really for me as a draftable position. Like, you've got Julian Love, you've got Ty Okada, you've got Nicky Manwari. Now you've added Rodney Thomas, and you've also added D'Anthony Bell back to it, who knows this defense basically. And now it's an open competition in some respects for that other safety spot. Yes, Ty Okada's probably got first crack at being the starter in that group, but he's going to have to bring his A game because Thomas is a good starting safety. D'Anthony Bell is a good starting safety. We'll see how that position group shapes out. Now, running backs, one kind of interesting situation because everybody's essentially on a 1-year deal that's remaining. And you got one of your top running backs coming off a major injury. 2 of them, in some respects, if you want to throw Kenny McIntosh into that, which cool nugget from Greg Bell. I'll drop that in a minute. But it makes it really interesting to see what Seattle does going forward with that position group in the draft and what they do. With free agency wise, I still expect them to add another corner as a veteran that's going to come in and be, someone that could potentially push for some starting time, whether to give Job some of flexibility or even Witherspoon to play that inside slot that he did like in the Super Bowl. Because I bet you anything, Mike McDonald's going to use that a lot more, considering how well that worked in the Super Bowl. Edge is the one thing I'm interested in. What are they going to do at that group? What are they going to add to it to reinforce the depth that they've lost a little bit? It'll be interesting. But overall, I'd say I'm not upset and I'm not disappointed or over the moon either about this free agency period so far.
Yeah, I would say right now, I think cornerback might be their cornerback depth is going to be of utmost importance because they literally have 3 corners on the roster and that's it. They released Tyler Hall from the active roster yesterday. So that means you've got Job, Witherspoon, Pritchett. And while they might be high on Pritchett's development, truth of the matter is he's hardly seen the field. So that means you've got 2 guys are sure things. And then Pritchett, who is still a bit of an unknown quantity, an unknown player with extended snaps. After that, you're going to need another corner. So I think they will try and look for a veteran corner. Okay, let's say they try and get, if Marlon Humphrey gets cut and his trip to Seattle wasn't in vain to watch the Super Bowl parade. I will say that if we get the Marlon Humphrey from last year, he is like Dunbar and Kerry Williams and some of the other disaster corner signings or trades rolled into one. If it's not him, like I think Rasul Douglas is somebody that they were interested in last year or maybe 2 years ago. So he's been around the block before, and he's got good ball skills. So they've got options there, and they probably won't cost much, and certainly won't cost a comp pick. Running back, you still need a starter. So basically, the way I put it is, at the moment, they don't have a healthy starting running back entering week 1, at least in my opinion. I'm not ready to hand the keys to Emmanuel Wilson. He may have pulled for the Seahawks as a child, but I'm not going to let the sentimentality go. You're the starter now. Like, he's never really been a every down main running back at any point in time in his NFL career. So you still need to look at who could be a starter on the team, and Schneider has alluded to exactly that. Whereas cornerback, you have your starting corners, your top 2, and then you figure out who's your extra cornerback and whether or not you want to even entertain, like, occasionally letting Eamon Warrior play corner. And then you figure out who you get in the draft. Edge is still to be determined, because at the minute they've just lost one, meaning Mafe. Could Connor O'Toole, who was all right in preseason, make a leap, kind of like Ty Okada's made a leap from this undrafted free agent special teamer to a starting safety? That remains to be seen. I don't know if Jared Ivey really is meant to be a major factor in the edge rushing group, but we'll see how that goes. I'm not going to give up on him or anything. He was definitely intriguing last year, but it sounds like Tank is going to come back. So if he comes back, that's good. But we also know that at that age, you never know what can go on you. And you can go from major contributor to, oh my God, he's hit that apex. He's found the fountain of youth, and now he's in his mid-30s and starting to decline. So I'm curious to see what happens, because Ebiketie went to Philadelphia literally about 10 seconds before we went off the air on Syndicate last night, just talking about him. But it feels like the options on edge are very thin in the free agent market. So this might be an area where, if they don't make a trade, they probably are going to invest in the draft, and maybe a little earlier than normal.
Yeah, it's interesting. And obviously with Ebiketie going to the Eagles, I wonder if it takes them out of the Gennard sweepstakes a little bit now, and they maybe aren't, because they were one of the teams that was really pushing for that. So it'll be interesting to see how this shapes up for Seattle going forward, and what kind of other tricks John's got up his sleeve, whether that is through trading some of the comp picks. But Mookie, let's take a look at some of John's best and worst decisions in free agency as general manager of the Seattle Seahawks. Now, I'll preface it with this before everyone in the chat goes absolutely nuts. We are not including last year's class of Darnold, Kupp, and Lawrence, because it's just too simple. We're going a little bit farther back in history. So that group from last year is not a part of this. So before everyone goes, why don't you have these guys there? That's exactly why we're going past that group, because I think last year's group was probably his best, maybe his best overall group of all time. So we'll take the comments off the page here. We'll get into it. Here it is. This is the best and worst free agent signings of the John Schneider era in Seattle. And Mookie, let's start with the best side, obviously. You got Michael Bennett, you got Cliff Averill. Those two are pretty much instantaneously two of the best moves he's ever made. I would throw Brandon Browner in there, because he did pluck him out of the CFL and brought him in as a free agent. You got Bradley McDougall, and you've got Zach Miller at tight end, which was another huge one. Is there anybody on here that you would throw in that may have been missing from this group?
Julian Love at this rate. I think Julian Love is on his way to being one of the best free agent pickups we've ever seen. I'd love to know who in our comment section is saying Colt McCoy to Seattle. Is this trying to trigger me or something? Because I don't want Colt anywhere within there should be a restraining order by the Seahawks organization when it comes to Colt McCoy. He is not allowed anywhere near the stadium, because bad things happen. But anyway, Julian Love, with the way that he has performed, like, maybe the first year was a little dicey, but he was the third safety in effect when it was predominantly Quandre and Jamal, and then Love was replacing Jamal later on in the year. But 2024, he was great. 2025, he was injured most of the year, but when he was healthy, he was terrific. And of course, he had what was in effect the first of the two clinching interceptions that the Seahawks had. The second one was the Chenna pick six. He might not be the best, but Chenna is, I think, he's in that second tier of better free agent signings for Schneider, because of the two-way ability. His run stuff is his ability to set an edge, the way they can defend the run. His pass rushing has been up and down, and of course the injuries have been a problem, but still, I think Chen has been good. Yeah, free agency, this is an area where the Seahawks with Schneider have never really been a mega hitting team. Now, 2011 was fun because of the lockout. That kind of just threw everything out of whack. So free agency started in freaking August. So they ended up with Zach Miller, as noted. And Zach Miller, if he had stayed healthy, he could have been the AJ Barner of his generation. And he was already a good tight end, of course, with the Raiders. But Sidney Rice was a big splash signing at the time. And injuries and the fact that, Tavares Jackson and rookie Russ were not exactly slinging the ball accurately to the receivers consistently. I think Sidney could have worked out a little better than he actually did. Again, injuries were a big factor. But Bennett and Averill got to be like the cream of the crop because they transformed that pass rush. When they lost to Atlanta in that divisional round, what happened? Chris Clemens tore his ACL the week before. Bruce Irvin kind of just had one move as a rookie. And that meant that Matt Ryan had hours to throw. And you add in Bennett after Jim Moore cut him, or Rusko, I guess, cut him. And then Cliff Averill, who was very good in Detroit. You basically had a buffet line of hungry pass rushers waiting to feast on the quarterback.
No, agreed. And that's why I think they're the top two of that list. I think those were two of John's best bargain deals in getting those two players in here. And, really changing that defensive front for Seattle. Let's flip over here, Mookie, and look at the other side, the worst free agent signings. Eddie Lacy falls on that list, Kerry Williams, Luke Jokel, Greg Olson, Blair Walsh. I think you could throw Jamarcus Webb on here too. Out of that group, who really stands out for you? And is there anyone that you would add to that group?
Kerry Williams takes the cake because they gave him a 3-year contract and cut him in November of year one. I mean, that's how bad he was. And I think it was, some busted coverage against Blaine Gabbert against the 49ers, the one where Thomas Rawls rushed for 200 something. Like, Williams was so awful that I believe that was enough for Pete to pull the plug. And that led to Deshaun Shedd replacing Kerry Williams. And this was like the week before the Pittsburgh game. So at least I'm pretty sure it's the week before the Pittsburgh game. Deshaun Shedd might as well have been like a Pro Bowl corner, a perennial Pro Bowler compared to what Kerry Williams gave us. And like, he just didn't get the kick step technique. He basically couldn't press. He couldn't cover really accurately at all, consistently. So he was just so out of place as the Byron Maxwell replacement. Kind of the irony, Byron Maxwell looked like Kerry Williams did for Seattle, but for Philadelphia. And Kerry Williams, a former Eagle, looked basically how Byron Maxwell looked in Philadelphia. Just a complete disaster. Jokel was horrific signing because that was their era of extremely cheap solutions to problems that needed greater investment. And also Jokel was a tackle, I'm pretty sure, throughout his career. And then they moved him to guard and he wasn't good there either. Yep. Lacy was a signing I supported at the time, but of course that went bust very quickly. Greg Olson was just cooked. So, he wasn't his Hall of Very Good self. Blair Walsh, the less said about him, the better. I'm trying to think of worst free agent signings. Well, before we went on air,
Ziggy
Ansah, Ed Dixon. Like, God, that Ed Dixon signing, another 3-year contract that cost them a comp pick, and he did close to nothing of value, and then he got hurt. I'm trying to think of it. Kerry Hyder Jr. pretty much was like another Ansah. Curtis Allen in the chats noting that it was $9 million for one start.
Yep, for one start. Thank you, Curtis.
Yeah, so that's kind of like rolling up.
I got one more to add to this list of just bad free agent signings. What was it? Dunbar?
Well, yeah, he was a trade. So
was he? Oh, that's right. He was a trade. You're right. Yep. And then there was all the legal legality that came with it.
Yeah, they may have done a robbery, maybe didn't. So, but Dunbar was also kind of victimized by playing him while he was clearly hurt. In that Bills game, Dunbar's knees barely functioned, and Pete would not pull him from the game. But yeah, the worst free agent signing. Schneider's had some clunkers before, as has every.
Oh yeah. Well,
yeah,
Mookie, what I'm going to say here is the interesting thing about this list is we don't really have anybody from the last, I'd say, 5 years on this list, 4 years even.
Yeah, I mean, I could list some dudes from 2024. Like Farrell Brown didn't play enough snaps for me and wasn't costly enough for me to call him one of the worst free agent signings ever. The Laken Tomlinson experience was not fun. That was basically Joe Cole all over again. You know what? Gerald Everett did seem like a good signing at the time, but that 49ers game where he fumbled twice and then basically took a surefire touchdown and handed it directly to the 49ers for an interception. That pissed me off beyond belief. So like the worst free agent signings for him have also rarely been mega contracts. They've been kind of like the 1 year, 2 year variety.
No, I agree. And you know, I saw someone on this list ask why we're doing this. Part of this is just to look at what John's history's been like with, you know, good and bad free agent signings and see what the track record is. And really, it almost is an even 50-50 split. Like, he hasn't been egregiously horrible at it, and he hasn't been a rock star. He's had some great diamond in the rough situations, and he's had some clunkers, like you said, Mookie. So that, I think, is the thing to kind of, you know, look at. And to be honest, I will give John credit for this. Free agency may not be somewhere where he hits a lot of home runs out of. However, with trades, he seems to do a better job in that area.
Yeah, maybe that's something we look at for another, you know, State of the Hawks, or even put it on Syndicate, because also I think his midseason trades have been better than some of his big splash offseason trades, like trading for Carlos Dunlap and only having to give up BJ Finney, trading for Quandre Diggs for giving up a 5th round pick. So like he's and Rashid Shaheed literally just last season. I mean, last year, the reason why we can try and exempt last year, because that was like the all-time heat check.
Yeah, I mean, no kidding, right?
And of course, we can mention the Leonard Williams trade in 2023 as another winner. So like he has knocked it out of the park with those midseason signings, midseason trades. The offseason trades, certainly there have been some high-profile busts, but even still, like the Russell Wilson trade was one of the best trades ever because of what we ended up getting out of that in the longer term. Oh, Brian, with an interesting one with Matt Flynn. Could Matt Flynn be considered one of his worst free agent signings, given the money that was at the time? But the fact that
I don't know if I'd throw Flynn in there. Like, I feel like Flynn's in that purgatory area, because I think I'll put it this way. I think if Matt Flynn plays with that Seattle defense, they probably are still very successful. That's an interesting one. It's almost like the Tavares Jackson conversation too, right? Like, Tavares was another free agent signing, and he wasn't bad, but he wasn't good. He was kind of just in the middle. It's that gray area, Brian, is where I'd put Matt Flynn and Tavares Jackson.
And Flynn also didn't have enough time to prove, like, he didn't play but 9 snaps or whatever it was. He played some of the Arizona blowout, and then he got to kneel down every other game that he was in that was a blowout. So we're getting some good responses in the chat, by the way. Misfit, Brandon Marshall. It was good for about a week and a half, and then he was just taking snaps away from more.
If we want to go to great free agent signings or good free agent signings, we could throw in Tony McDaniel. We could throw in Kevin Williams. We could throw in Ataba Rubin.
Yeah, a lot of good trenches ones. I almost said Clint McDonald, but forgot he was a trade for when they got Kelly Jennings. So like he's found some, again, like you said, diamonds in the rough types of signings.
Braylon Edwards.
Yeah, well, another one where like Braylon basically blew the first game because he had a touchdown and it went through his hands.
Yep, exactly. So no, and again, this is the good thing about John, is he seems to learn from his mistakes more than some other GMs, which is awesome. And it's led to some really successful moments for this team and this franchise going forward. Yeah. So Mookie, you know what? Let's here's a good one. Curtis it says Jason Myers as well.
Yeah, Jason Myers, one of the best. I was about to say, even though he's played well elsewhere, that Draymond Jones is probably one of the worst because of like how
contract
super effective he was because of the contract. That's one of the few times they've been splashy in free agency and it hasn't worked. So yeah, but that's about it in terms of like the number of times he signed this guy to a 3, 4, or 5 year contract, and then it's gone bust. This is not like Ruskell, where, as some of you know in the comments, Brian Russell is maybe my worst free agent acquisition ever because of how shitty he was, and they got a 5-year, $25 million contract.
Well, you could say him, Marcus Pollard. There's another free agent one from back in the day there, but that's pre-John Schneider. That is back in that era before John showed up. So one of the main reasons that Mookie and me kind of gone through these conversational pieces a little bit quicker than normal is we really want to get to this. We're going to do a State of the Hawks, Seahawks first mock draft, live mock draft. We're going to take your guys' input. Trades are going to be on the docket for me and Mookie to make as general managers. So we will definitely look into that. So let's bring this up on the screen here, Mookie, and we'll get into it. And we're going to use Pro Football Network because it gives you the trade value appropriately. So here we go. I'll get that thing out of the corner there, and we'll get going here. All right. So do you want to use the Pro Football Network one, Mookie, or the consensus player list?
I think the consensus player is always better because you get to pull in from so many other sources.
All right, here we go. Let's see how this works out. And again, everyone, you can put your comments in on who you think we should take. So, all right, we'll see how this board works for us here. So we got Fernando Mendoza, Caleb Downs. This might have gone a little too slow. Hold on. Let me restart this.
Yeah, we probably got to get it to medium.
I was going to say, went a little slower than I wanted on that one. That really slowed down on me.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Only we can make trades, right? I believe like the CPU doesn't make trades.
I don't believe it does in this one, no. So here we go. So, wow, that was an interesting second pick overall, but okay, here we go.
Did I say Sonny Styles went number 2?
No, that said Jeremiah Love went number 2.
Yeah, that's not happening.
No.
Why would we franchise tag Breece Hall and then do that?
Yeah, and then, okay, we're going to take the best running back in the draft right away. Maybe they traded him away.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't want to see that at 27. No, thank you.
No.
All right. So we do have some offers, Mookie. Cleveland's coming, giving us their 3rd next year and pick 39 to move up. That is the only offer we have. So we can always decide to make a trade and move down, which I think is a option here given what's on the board. But let's take a look. So this is what went off the board for us, everyone. Mendoza, Love, Bailey, Reese, Styles, Delane, Tate, Bain, Downs, Falk, Tyson, I don't even know how to say that. Is that Magua? I'll get better with these names. Fano, McCoy, Tiedemann, yeah, which I could see the Bucks doing that. Terrell, Lomu, Mesidor. Wow, Mesidor to the Chiefs. Wow, I'm surprised by that one. We got Lone. We got and Dallas takes a tight end, of course. Lemon to the Bills. Freeling to the Browns. McDonald. Woods, Proctor, Banks. Boston to the 49ers. Screw you, San Francisco. TJ Parker, Cooper, CJ Allen, and McNeil Warren. Oh, I was hoping he would fall a little bit farther. So where do you want to go here, Mookie? Do you want to trade back or do you want to pick at 32?
Tell you what, Ty Simpson looks so tempting. You can get another Alabama quarterback.
That's just what we need, right?
Exactly. By the way, I think that this CPU is they are doing.
They are making trades
because there's no way, like the Chargers aren't picking 28.
Yeah, so they are making trades, which is kind of cool. Then at least this is a little bit more realistic. Then.
So
all right,
cornerback
here's your corners.
I think that's if Colton Hood. So let's say we do trade back.
Yep.
You have Hood, Cisse, Chris Johnson. I like D'Angelo Pons a lot, but like he
size is a little bit of a thing.
5'9" is 5'9". He can jump extremely high, but like the best case scenario for him is Brent Grimes, and Brent Grimes was a really good player. But I don't know if Seattle absolutely really wants to have such a smaller, like below average, high cornerback room collectively. But if you
this is our edge group, so here's our edge group as well. So you got Young, you got Howell, Thomas, Derek Moore, Jackus, Overton, Lawrence. Like there's still, Dennis Sutton, Crawford. There's still some good edges on this board. So I think he could. Now do you want to take a look at running back?
Yeah.
So Price is there, Emmett Johnson, Mike Washington, Jonah Coleman, Katron Allen, Seth McGowan, Kalen Black,
Hemby. Yeah,
one guy that I'm very interested in is right there, Adam Randall from Clemson. He's a guy that I think is an interesting running back.
Yeah, so I think that Cleveland trade, getting next year's 3rd So you have another pick to play with for next year. I think you could risk going to 39 and getting one of those corners.
So here's what I'll say. I would rather not. Let's try and stay away from trading for next year picks. Let's try and get as many as we can this year. So let's go and see if we can counter that offer. So let's look at our trade offers. So let's go if we can counter. We'll take out that third, and let's see if they'll do. They won't do that. What about 107? They'll do 107. So that gives us another pick between 96 and 188.
Yeah. I think, yeah, we could try that.
I think we'll do this. Okay.
They would most likely accept 146 as well. So let's see.
No, they rejected that. Wow, I'm kind of surprised there. Okay, let's try this. Let's go in here. Let's go take that out. Let's see if they go 146. Yeah, they'll go 146.
Because that's a fifth, I believe.
Yeah, so let's propose it. Ooh, that value offered. Eek.
Yeah.
That's a little steep. Maybe we don't trade with Cleveland. Let's have a look and see. We can trade with somebody else. Let's go in here and have a look. What do you think about trading with Houston?
Where would Houston be? 38? Yeah.
They're 38, so they're one above. So we can take this, and would they do 106? Close, 141? They do 141.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean,
somehow I'd like to close that gap between 32 and 64. That's a long gap.
Yeah. In other words, like make it a pick in the.
Let's see if we do this. Let's go Seattle's fourth because we know we're going to get some comp picks.
Yeah.
And that's rejected right out of the bat. Okay. Let's do this. Let's move back with Houston.
Yeah.
So let's go here. Let's take out our fourth and let's just go there. Okay. That's a better value. Okay. So there we go. So we move back. So Young goes, Concepcion, Ty Simpson, Lee Hunter. There we go. One. Okay. So, geez. Dallas came in hot and heavy with the trade offer.
Damn. AI Jerry Jones is wilding.
He's dealing. He's going to give us his second, his third, his seventh, and 92 and 112. Geez, if Dallas did that, I don't know if John would say no. Okay, this is interesting. Cincinnati's willing to move up a few. And again, we'll take a look at the players before we make a decision, but that Cincinnati situation is kind of interesting. So what went between there and then? Zion Young, Concepcion, Ty Simpson, Lee Hunter, Cisse and Bastonis went.
So Colton Hood is right there.
He is right there. Colton Hood is available, and is Chris Johnson.
So if you move three back, the odds of, because that's what we're looking at, right? The Bengals are 41.
Bengals are 41. Yep. So there.
So you move three back, the odds of both of them going off the board are not high.
No. And our running backs are all still there as well.
Yep. So
same with a couple of these edges as well.
Yep. So gain a third.
So let's see. Let's do this. Let's go into that one. Let's go counter. And so let's go with take that off. And let's see. Do they give us 70? No, they'll give us 110.
That sounds good.
Okay. So we'll make another trade here.
Yep.
Boom. They take it. We move back. Blake Miller, Howell, Hood.
Damn it. Well, Chris Johnson, welcome to Seattle.
Yeah, no kidding. Chris Johnson is coming to Seattle.
Yes.
So our picks now, we have 41, 64, 96, 110, 141, 188. I would like to get a 7th round pick somewhere later on, but I think it's a Chris Johnson selection here.
Yep. And yes, I am a Devin Moore guy, especially based on the Daniel Jeremiah recommendation. He is a guy with a larger frame at 6'2". So, but the injuries are a concern, and it's probably why he would be available much later than 41. Pons to Atlanta.
Jacques to Detroit. Chris Brazel. Rodriguez to the Jaguars. Derek Moore.
Branch.
All right, so we got the last pick here in. Price went one pick before. Damn.
Damn it.
Okay, so
we know that's not realistic, because why would they take Price when they already have Stevenson and what's his name?
Yeah, they're not doing that. So interestingly enough.
Yeah.
All right, what else we got here? Okay, so New England wants to trade with us. Screw you. You just took our player.
Yeah.
Okay, let's look here and let's be realistic about this. So the other thing here was pick 83. I think that's a big drop for us.
Yeah. In fact, we got what, 4 picks. Now we're up to 6. I think they settle for. I don't think they have more than 6 picks in this draft for real.
Yeah.
So let's see. Okay, the Barham,
The edge.
yeah, Barham, Dennis Sutton as well. And then what do they have at running back? Emmett Johnson, Mike Washington. I think that's Emmett Johnson might drop just a tad because of how not well he tested at the combine.
Yeah.
Even though his tape's impressive. It's just that for a guy with his frame, you would expect him to be a little faster. But his short area quickness is good. With Mike Washington, I'm really concerned about the fumbling. But he took a big step up to playing SEC competition, and he played well, and he looks like a very comfortable receiving back in addition to being quite fast for a guy his size. So I think, where are we picking next? 96?
We have pick 96, so that means we're way down here.
Yeah, you might risk. Well, you know what? It's not the end of the world. You don't get Washington because you got one of the Notre Dame backs in there, and Coleman. So I think you might take a flyer on one of these, like Malachi Lawrence. I think you could have Lawrence and Lawrence essentially.
See, for me, I just wonder about Lawrence. Like, I feel like you could get Dennis Sutton or Kayron Crawford, who I really like coming out of Mobile. Both him and Sutton are two guys I really like coming out.
Yeah, I wonder about Barham and whether he's really the fit for McDonald just on his size. I think he would have to beef up a little bit more.
Do we take Jennings Dunker? I think we take Jennings Dunker.
For a BPA, just for the hell of it, maybe that's what they do. Because
and you know what? I haven't seen him go in a lot of first-round mocks right now. Like, they're talking on the end of the second round. I'd be okay because he's an immediate competitional piece for Anthony Bradford, who is in a contract year.
Yeah, that's the thing. What you don't want to do is wait until after a guy has already left, after you decide to resign, and then you don't have any viable backups. Like, there's no offense to Cable Dew or Richmond because they're both going to be in competition, but they're also 6th and 7th round picks. So the upside, in theory, goes to Dunker.
So best player available right now in this currently is Halsey and Abneen, and like guys in position groups. Like, I go with Dunker here. For Seattle, this is a huge opportunity to get another guy that you can have club control for at least 4 years of.
Yep. I think that they go with Dunker. And then Dunker and Zabel can have their own podcast together.
Oh, the bush. Men in the Woods. That's what I think it would be, something like that. All right. Jennings Dunker. Here we go. We picked him. So we've gotten Chris Johnson and Jennings Dunker. All right. Devin Moore finally goes off the board. Now you're seeing a bit of a run on corner start here.
Yeah. I got to admit, I kept thinking, is Darrell Jackson Jr. actually related to former Seahawks receiver Darrell Jackson?
So there goes Lawrence to the Panthers right there.
Mike Washington went to Kansas City. Maybe that's a double up. They signed DeMarcado, but that dude, I don't know.
Ooh, we might have missed out on the edge run here a little bit, I think. Yeah. So New England wants to trade again. I'm not interested in any of those. We're just going to stay and pick, I think, unless we can get a 7th. So let's look at edge.
Yeah.
Oh, that fell off rather quickly. So
you could take.
I liked Height at Senior Bowl, but he's very much not a Mike McDonald edge.
Yeah,
I like Mason Regar there down at the bottom. I think he's an interesting guy.
Yeah. What do you think of Sapp? I mean, he's much lower on this board, but
yeah, Sapp's got short arms.
Yeah,
that's one of my biggest issues with him is his short arms. I think it's going to make it really difficult for him. I'd probably wait for Mason there out of Wisconsin. 6'5", 251. Like, he's got the length to go along with it. And again, this is a guy that you're putting in low in that rotation, right?
Yeah.
Let's take a look at our running back. So Jonah Coleman's still there. Katron Allen. We got Robert Henry. We got Black. And Adam Randall is someone I really think people need to start paying attention to. 6'3", 232. He was a 4-star receiver going into Clemson. And then switched to running back, and he ran for 814 yards, 10 TDs on 168 carries. Like, he's a guy I'm interested in as a potential running back for Seattle because I think he could fit in this system. But
yeah.
All right, Mookie, what do you want to do here? Do you want to go defense? Do you want to go offense?
I think I'll go offense because they are going to go and pick 110 because of the trade that we did. Chat. I know that the masses love when a Husky is taken by the Seahawks. Should we be men of the people and say Jonah Coleman, welcome to Seattle? Because he doesn't. There's still kind of like that speed element that'd be missing from Seattle's back group. That I'd be wary of.
See, this is tough. This is tough.
Yeah.
I'm also thinking of D tackle in here because of the Jaron Reed, and Leonard Williams, and I know we got Riley Mills.
Yeah.
Oh, this is tough.
That's also one where like you could probably get a space eating type of D tackle later on in the draft.
Oh, this is interesting.
Yeah.
Between the two, if we're going Coleman or Allen, like Coleman's had some injury issues in college.
Yeah, I like Allen better.
I do as well.
Yeah, so
I like Kalen Black actually a lot.
I think
we got to go with an edge though, Mookie.
Yeah. We're assuming that there have been no trades made from now until April.
Yeah,
improve the edge group. So,
no, you know what? We can wait. We'll go Katron Allen here, I think, is the running back. Claiborne's been brought up quite a bit here from Wake Forest. He's just to me a little light for what I think Seattle may.
A 190-pound every down back. Unless they really want to split carries between him and Wilson and Charbonnet when he comes back.
I'm going to go with Katron Allen here.
Yeah.
Okay, Katron Allen's picked. We'll come back around here at 110.
Nussmeier, you're the Aaron Rodgers replacement.
Yeah, no kidding, right? They have Will Howard there too. Like, come on now.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Okay, so we're back up on the board. The edge group.
Davis, everybody. So
yeah, there you go. Linebackers.
Harold Perkins was I thought he was going to be like a next big thing, and then he just couldn't stick to a position at LSU.
Yeah.
And he's really too small, I think, to be a super edge in the NFL. Like his stock fell so much from his freshman year all the way until the end of his time in college.
Oh, this is interesting. Barham's an interesting guy out of Michigan.
Yeah, like I said, I think that they might want to have him bulk up just a little.
Yeah.
If it's not Derek Moore, I mean, Barham was good, and I also like the way he plays the run. So
that's what I was going to say about Barham. That's interesting to me is the way he does play the run. Do we look at receiver at all and see Kevin Coleman Jr. is interesting, Cyrus Allen, because they're a little bit different than what we have.
I don't think they're going to invest in receiver. That just signing Shaheed, and unless Horton's shin is way worse than we thought, I think they're fine there. I expect them to rework Bobo's contract because it'd be a shock if they actually had him playing on a $3.5 million deal. So I think they're kind of set at receiver that if they bring in anybody, it's going to be like one of those undrafted free agents gems who could play special teams.
So Bud Clark is interesting to me because I think he could be a safety they could take. He's a bit of a guy that you can play in the box. And again, yes, we signed Anthony Bell. I think they may be down at that position, but he's kind of this weird universal chess piece. Or do they go with another corner here, like a Dalen Everett?
Yeah. Everett, from what I recall, can be prone to some penalty issues. Safety, Lewis Moore from Indiana is, of course, you want to rave from the national championship cabinet. I think that Seattle could take another safety.
All right, let's look at D tackle because we need to deal with that. So this is interesting. I actually wouldn't mind this. Yeah, let's go with McKellen here. I think he's an interesting prospect.
Yeah, and then they pick again at 141, and there's a tiny chance. I don't think Barham is going to be a 5th-round pick, but for the sake of this exercise, like we got a month before the draft happens, and you never know if we have some shock fallers for medical reasons or otherwise.
Oh, we'll see. We're heading that way. So there goes height.
Yeah.
Let's see if he makes it. He may make it.
Yeah. Seattle doesn't need a tight end, but man, if Oscar Delp ever felt,
yeah.
yeah,
There goes Perkins, Cage Casey, who I do like. Oh, there he goes. Green Bay came up and got him.
yeah.
Okay.
To Philadelphia, Singleton to the Niners. So first pick.
Oh, what do we do here? So these are our picks so far: Chris Johnson, Dunker, Katron Allen, and Chris McKellen.
Yep. So this would be the Seattle needs to draft to trade for an edge draft that we're looking at right now, or
yep.
Yeah, or sign a veteran.
Do we look at linebacker?
Bryce Betcher was really good
yep.
at Oregon,
and he was good at the Senior Bowl too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's one of those like tackling machines, and didn't he get carries in college too?
He did get some carries in college, I believe.
Yep. So, linebacker isn't a huge need right now. You don't always draft for need, but like for depth reasons, after Drake and Ernest, it's Knight.
Yep.
And then Patio was really only on the active roster late in the year because of injuries.
This is true.
But how much are you still banking on the development of Chris Paul Jr.? So don't really know much about Tucker. Again, as you mentioned, Sapp, arms probably too short.
Yeah. Well, here, I'll bring up Sapp right now so you can have a look at him. So,
yeah,
6'2", 273. He's a bit bigger for the edges that we like.
Yeah.
He's just got such small arms.
Yeah.
And like when I go and look at some of the other guys, like Vincent Anthony Jr. is a guy I saw down there. Another bigger guy. He had long arms. Like, even Mason Rager there. He's another guy that I was interested in. Like, those are guys I think you can get. So, do you want to go with a linebacker here? Or do you want to look at the safeties?
Safeties.
DJ Payne's interesting.
Or is it Jacoby Thomas would be kind of a later round pick. Man, Texas Tech had really pissed themselves over because their offense couldn't do anything, because that defense is going to produce so many NFL.
Yes, I know. We got someone in here looking for best player available, Carson Beck, and I don't think we need him in Seattle.
And he is definitely, yeah. The odds of Carson Beck being anywhere near Seattle is very low, unless he's an opposing quarterback.
Yeah. So do we go with our linebacker? I think that's the best thing here.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll take that pick. We'll look back at the draft results, and we'll get one more pick in here, Mookie, to wrap up this this first mock we've done on State of the Hawks. It kills me that we took a Bryce and he plays for Oregon. It just kills me inside. Absolutely kills me.
I got to watch myself being an Oregon resident, of course, but hey, I don't live in Eugene. I just go there every year.
Exactly. All right, let's see. See how this board falls to us. All right, come on. VJ Payne off the board. Reggie Virgil's an interesting receiver.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Do we take Mason now? I really like his tape out of Wisconsin.
Yeah, I think you might as well. It's either him or Anthony, essentially.
Yeah, so we address that. All right, we're going to go with Mason here.
Yeah, and this is a mid-March mock draft, so I don't give a shit what grade we're getting out of this.
No, I don't give a crap either. Realistically, we haven't seen the end of free agency. There's a lot that still needs to be done. But you know what? I think overall, the fact that if we walk out of the draft, in my opinion, with Chris Johnson and Dunker, I think that's successful.
Mm-hmm. Cade Klubnik of the Rams. Be funny if Lander Barton is Cody's brother, I think.
I think you're right, yeah.
Because he also went to Utah. Andre Fuller is somebody Seattle reportedly had a 30 visit with. And again, he's a 6'2" corner. And he was spent all of his time at Toledo. And they have been producing some guys. I mean, we'll see with McNeil Warren. Quinyon Mitchell, of course, has been a star for Philadelphia. Whittington, another Oregon back.
James Brockmere. There we go. Jeremiah Wright. I liked him, but
Yeah.
all right. So there is me and Mookie's first mock draft. So we made a couple picks, trades, swaps. We ended up with Chris Johnson, Jennings Dunker, Katron Allen, Chris McKellen, Bryce Betcher, thank you, and Mason Rager. I'd be okay with that draft class.
Well, what you think with Chris Johnson is he would probably be a starter. You know, well,
Jennings Dunker potentially could be a starter.
Yeah, another way to put it is he would be getting a lot of the snaps Reek was getting, is what I'm saying, if you keep the same defensive structure. Dunker could be starting over Bradford if all goes well. And you know what? We can't trade players here. I would not be shocked if they dealt Christian Haynes at some point.
Yes.
So, like, I'm not even thinking about Haynes. I honestly, some of us have probably forgotten he's even on the roster. But the way that two different coaching staffs have seen him, two offensive line coaching staffs have seen him and went, "You're not ready." As a third-round pick, I think that he could be gone. And then we've got Katron Allen. He could be a day one running back.
Yep.
So, like, for those three, you could have three starters with your first three picks, and then the other three are just rotational pieces, and or guys fighting, hoping to get on the bottom end of the roster.
Well, Brian gives us a pass. He goes, March 13th, not bad. Misfit comes in and says, I do like the first two picks. So, you know what? Like, again, Mookie, like you said, it's early.
Yeah, we're going to get a better idea of, I'd say, after we get more 30 visits rolling in too, because you do have to respect, of course, 30 visits are not the literal top 30 guys on a team's draft board. They're just, you are allowed up to 30 official visits where they come in, do a physical, do an interview. Historically, the Seahawks almost always take a guy who's had a 30 visit with them. Plus, they get some undrafted free agents there too.
Yeah, exactly. And this is where it's kind of, it's going to be one of those things where as we get more information, as these guys do more pro days, we'll be able to kind of have an idea of what Seattle's even looking for, right?
Yeah.
Seattle could still make a trade between now and then. They could add other players and we go, okay, maybe they're not as looking into this position as much in the draft. So it'll be interesting. But as we always do, Mookie, we've got our 12s Q&A. So, guys, get your comments in there. Get your questions from me and Mookie that you got about free agency, about the draft, about all that stuff. Bring that stuff all in here. We'll break it down. We'll have the conversation because we're going to be on here for maybe another 15, 20 minutes. Me and Mookie are quite tired from the last few days. We've done Syndicate. I did Greg earlier today at 1:00, had Greg Bell on the show. And then Mookie, you were on another podcast, and now we're here doing Syndicate. See, my brain's not even working. We're doing State of the Hawks. I'm calling it Syndicate. So let's see. What do we got kicking around here? We got one. Oh, okay. Okay, soon comes in. Okay. Love the surprise mock. Thank you. Haven't even seen it yet. Wanted to say thanks for just doing it first. You're welcome. It's a little early, but we might as well get into it early, I guess, Mookie, at this point, because free agency exactly hasn't been a firestorm for us here in Seattle.
No, I mean, we're almost done. Like I said, now that Derrick's gone as of yesterday, it's just Surratt and Cody White. Everybody else is either re-signed or they're gone. So It's been like one of the quicker free agencies for the Seahawks in a long time. Previously, there'd be like 20 free agents or something like that, and there'd be some guys still unsigned until June. Like, this is going to be almost a wrap. We're in week 1. Normally, it's like the second wave of free agency is the following week. There might not be a second wave of free agency for a lot of these teams next week. Things just move so much quicker this year because of how much teams were going after their guys in the definitely legal tampering on Monday, where you're not supposed to talk to anybody until Monday, but somehow you got a bunch ready at 9:01 a.m.
So I asked Greg about that, and he even said, he goes, there's so much tampering at the combine. He's like, it's not even funny. He's like, things are already decided there before they even get to legal tampering period. So Misfit brings up a good point. He goes, I think the Dunker decision really affected this draft. Edge and running back wiped out after that. More depth at guard.
That is one of the trade-offs. That is one of the risks that could happen for real in the draft. If Seattle doesn't have, doesn't make trades like we did, because the last time they had this few picks, they stuck. I'd like to think they won't do that this time. But, if you've got more offensive line depth, I don't think people would complain. You want offensive line depth, plus you might have a starter. If you've got a starter there in Dunker as a Bradford replacement, then the thought of an upgraded offensive line could mean a world of difference for a running back room that is, in theory, downgraded because you lost Walker.
Yeah, agreed. We got Charlie the Unicorn comes in. Will Seattle take one of the UW players in the draft, receiver, cornerback, or running back? I don't think they'll take Denzel Boston. I just don't see the need for it. At corner, maybe if they like Davis or Prysock, it'll be interesting to see which one they like more out of that group. And running back with Jonah Coleman. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Jonah Coleman, but I wonder if his injury history is something that Seattle looks at.
Yeah, you got to really watch for those medical red flags very soon, and see who's going to start randomly falling on the consensus boards even before we get to the actual draft. And it's funny, the Seahawks don't really take a lot of Huskies under Schneider. Like, it's been like Disley, Ben Burke-Irvin. I'm trying to think
Jack
of
Westhoff when they brought him off from, or Westover when they brought him on as a UDFA. But they really haven't. Like, I think the only one you could really say that had even a great amount of success, they didn't even draft, was Jermaine Kearse.
And of course, with this fan base lost its shit when Case and Williams got cut.
Yeah.
So there's not a big Huskies contingency historically for the Seahawks under Schneider. Really not a lot for Washington State either, other than Abe Lucas. So it's like they don't go for the Northwest product.
Hey, they have Michael Bumpus too.
Yes. Seattle Sports 710 zone, Michael Bumpus. And of course, Marcus Dufont was a Seahawks legend for real.
Yeah, that's true. Lil Band comes in. Should we sign Snead? I don't think so. I don't think he fits Mike McDonald's scheme, to be honest.
Here's why. If you hated Reek Woolen's penalties, L'Jarius Sneed would pull your hair out.
Yeah.
Because it's not like Woolen, it's not the taunting thing with just one of the problems with Reek. It's L'Jarius Sneed commits a lot of horribly undisciplined illegal contacts, pass interference types of penalties that extend drives. So Sneed was we want to talk about free agent busts and trade busts. Like, L'Jarius Sneed was a huge trade bust for Tennessee.
Yeah, he really was. Misfit comes in, goes, will either of you be at training camp this year? Yes, Misfit, we will. We actually might have a longer stay this year than we did last year. It looks like the Seahawks syndicate's probably going to be there for at least 4 to 5 days, potentially. We will be doing a live viewer show where we'll make sure that all gets situated, where we're going to do it and everything, and get that information out to all of you that are locally in the area or even coming in for training camp from outside the local Seattle area. So you guys can come on down, meet myself, Mookie, Dan Viens, Brandon Kane, as we'll be doing a couple of live shows potentially. I think our goal, Mookie, was to try and be there if there was a preseason game going on, even if it was away, and then do a live show. And I think it was even to do a live watch party potentially at a place where everyone can come and watch the game if it's an away game as well.
Yeah, we're kind of date to be determined on this because we're not quite sure what the training camp dates will be. We can guess. We can certainly guess when training camp starts just based on previous dates. But keep in mind the Seahawks are going to start their season earlier, the regular season earlier. Which is always a great thing to hear. It might even start Wednesday levels early, depending on what you do with the Australia game and that nonsense of having to absolutely make that week 1. Why can't they just do it later on in the year and then the 49ers are going to have a bye on either side of that? Like, it's like, come on. Anyway, so just be on the lookout for that. Certainly in sometime in July or August, we'll definitely be there. Hopefully the Mariners aren't playing that week, because that is the last 2 times I've gone at FanFest, it has been beyond jams on the light rail lines, and nobody can move.
Yeah, no, agreed. So we'll make sure to get all that information out to you guys before we set down the dates and everything. And then again, it'll be promoted on all of the channels. It'll be promoted here on Hawkside. It'll be promoted on Seahawks Forever and the Hawks Nest, and maybe even on Field Gulls there as well. So I got one here from Sean, the Scotchman, goes, just watch your show with Greg. It was great. So if you guys haven't seen that, it was earlier today, but it's up on the channel. So go check that out. And then as well, I'll make sure later tonight, those are all, or actually tomorrow, all those will be uploaded for audio on Spotify. So go check that out over there if you guys want your audio fix of them. But yeah, no, Greg's interview today was great. And actually, I forgot to give that tidbit. Greg did say, in his opinion, he believes Kenny McIntosh, if healthy, will be Seattle's leading rusher this year.
Well, you know what? The end of the 2024 year, they were giving McIntosh. Remember that Bears game? Grubb decided, because Walker was already out for the year, that McIntosh was getting some early run, and I think he was even the leading rusher over Charbonnet. So
he was.
The thing with Holani is that he hasn't actually had but a few non-garbage time carries, whereas they've been more willing, at least when Grubb was there, to give McIntosh some run in the offense. So it was kind of like a to be determined whether he would have been getting some run in 2025 if he hadn't torn his ACL. But I can see in a scenario where McIntosh is playing a significant role even over Holani. Because remember, McIntosh beat Holani out 2 years ago.
Yep.
And then last year, McIntosh towards ACL. Otherwise, that would have been another competition. Obviously, Martinez.
And he was, from what I had heard, he was winning at Mookie until he injured himself. The word out of camp was he was really buying into the system and doing well. So it'll be interesting. Misfit here with another one. Thoughts on Bryce Coutts versus drafting a guard early in the draft?
Well, you know what? When I spoke to Bryce Coutts at the Super Bowl, at Super Bowl week at the media availability, I asked him, where does he feel most comfortable as in terms of where he's positioned on the line? Because he was a tackle in college, and he's gotten some snaps at center. He's played a guard. We were there at training camp where they had him also kind of like Sandell all across the line. And he says he feels most comfortable at guard. And he said it didn't matter whether it was left or right guard. Because he says there's a difference. There's not as much of a difference positionally when you're a left guard versus a right guard compared to when you're a tackle, left tackle, right tackle, which is why a guy like Tristan Wirfs being an all-pro at right tackle and at left tackle was unprecedented. So I think that, and Cable even said at the time I interviewed him, I think I'm as good as I can be at center right now. And that, again, that was in February. The way I read it is he maybe isn't the biggest fan of being a center and would rather be a guard. And I think that he'll definitely be in the guard competition this offseason.
Yeah, I do as well. From what I had heard is Benton really likes him and likes his skill set and thinks he could be a guy that they could really develop into a key starting piece. We got an interesting one here from Brian. Goes, gentlemen, sign Espinoza to a 1-year low-cost deal. Good depth piece, in my opinion.
Okay, I think he meant AJ Epinesa from
Espinoza. Yes, you're right. Yes.
Yeah. So because I was trying to figure out who he's talking about, but yeah, Epinesa was one of those first rounders from Iowa, I believe he played at, who was kind of okay.
Yes.
He was okay for Buffalo, but never really stood out. Well, he doesn't need to be a main edge rusher here. He can be basically a situational guy. And he's a good athlete. He might not be a guy who wins with speed or really, great quickness, but he could be a cheap option.
Here's an interesting one. Matthew comes in here and goes, is Mike Washington Jr. overhyped?
Maybe the combine certainly gained some traction for his hype. Because it's like the reverse of Emmett Johnson, where Emmett Johnson looks like, man, this guy's going to be an amazing high draft pick for a running back. And then his combine numbers came in, and you would think this is not a plus athlete for this position. His stock might drop. With Mike Washington, Arkansas's got talent on that team. A lot of guys who are probably going to get drafted or close to it, their problem is the team itself sucked. Mike Washington wasn't one of those problems. But again, the fumbling is going to be something that people pay attention to because you fumble in this league. I don't know how Mike McDonald feels about that because we haven't had a fumbler at running back, but most coaches are not going to tolerate it. Ultimately, I think he's in what is not a super strong running back class. I think he's deserving of being one of the top backs in this draft. There's love, and then there's price, and then there's just this significant gap for everybody else.
Yeah, that's kind of how I wouldn't say he's overhyped. I'm just, again, the fumbling issues are something that's a little bit concerning. I do like his running ability. When he has the ball, he finishes runs well. It's going to be interesting to see what Seattle does at the running back spot. There's an interesting one here. I think it's Soapman. I'm an enemy Niners fan. How do you feel about losing Evans? Curious. I'm wondering if he means losing out on Mike Evans, maybe.
Yeah, losing Evans, like I don't think Seattle was ever going to sign Mike Evans.
Yeah, neither do I. Yeah,
And don't get me wrong, I think it'd be a good addition for San Francisco, but in terms of it being a move that puts them over the top, no. I think they're going to need another receiver. And as I was talking with the syndicate guys last night, John Lynch and Shanahan have not been the best people when it comes to drafting receivers. So, like, okay, they've hit it with Debo, and they kind of sort of hit it with Ayuk, and you know it was going well until it wasn't. But Danny Gray, Jacob Cowing, Pearsall is very much the jury is still out on it. Like the idea of Pearsall versus the reality has not been in sync. And Ronnie Bell later on in the draft, they've had some clunkers at that position. So just something to keep in mind as to why they need to sign Mike Evans is because those other dudes weren't cutting it. And they're going to lose Jawan Jennings probably, and that's one of their few receiving draft picks.
We got one here from Charlie Unicorn. He goes, how far will running back Jeremiah Love, drop or fall in the draft? Top 15 pick lock? Yeah, I'd say so. I think he's a top 15 pick.
Yeah, and again, I'm iffy on drafting running backs that early, but he's probably going to get drafted early. He's the best back in this draft, and there's going to be a team in the top 15 that needs a running back who will take him.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's going to be the key thing. I think his talent is definitely worthy of being up there, and some team's going to want to take him, and some team's going to potentially want that fifth-year option on him, right? Those are going to be the key things. It'll be interesting to see how this draft shapes up here. But I think, Mookie, we're going to wrap this one up early tonight. There's not much more to really discuss, and we don't want to just keep rambling on for the sake of rambling on about some nonsense. So, Mookie, what's going on at Field Gulls? What do you have coming up over the next couple of days here to get everyone through this weekend?
Well, I think our film analyst, Alexander Kacha, is going to do a little bit of a review of Drake Thomas's season, his breakout season, obviously, because he went from special teamer all the way to starting weak side linebacker. So be on the lookout for that. It'll probably be up Saturday. We'll start to get a tracker going for the top 30, the official 30 visits. I'm not going to call it top 30. I'm not going to do the misnomer stuff. So we'll be kind of looking back and looking ahead. There'll probably be some more mock drafts coming up that aren't just within this show. So we've got you covered, and there will be that lull where just not as much is going on. In fact, next week I will have pretty limited Field Gulls availability because I'm working March Madness, the NCAA men's basketball tournament, of which the first two rounds, some of those games are in Portland. So be on the lookout for my work over at SB Nation, not just for written work, but also some social media stuff. You never know. I could end up finding like the next Antonio Gates at a college basketball tournament. Like, hey,
very true.
Good boxing out position. Possible tight end of the future for Seattle to pair with Barner and Arroyo.
You never know. So on here on the Hawks side, everybody, obviously, if you haven't already, check out my last two shows. I have one with Jeff Simmons, which was awesome, from Real Hawk Talk, and I just did one with Greg Bell. Outside of that, next week, we will start our mock draft kind of series where we'll do live mock drafts. We'll get more of you involved in it, and I'll have some other guests coming on throughout that week. But outside of that, just, hey, if you haven't already, head up to that QR code up in the top corner of the screen there. That'll take you to the Hawks Eye Discord. Misfit just brought it up in the chat to promote it. I haven't done a good enough job of that, so thank you, Misfit. But head on over there if you want to talk to fellow Seahawk fans. We got a great group and community building over there in the Discord chat. So head on over there, scan that. You can always scan that to take yourself to the YouTube page if you're not already there, or Spotify to find the channel over there as well. But make sure if you haven't already, like, subscribe, click that notification button. It helps me here on the channel grow the channel, get more guests on. We'll be back in a couple of weeks for another State of the Hawks. Outside of that, as we always do, Mookie, stay loud, be proud, and go Hawks. Have a good night, everybody.